Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the NGA podcast, where we talk all things gymnastics. I'm your host, Rebecca Grady, and I'm here with my incredible co-host,
Dr. Ian Kreider.
Rob Axelrod.
All right, so today we are jumping into some bar skills, and we're going to talk about one that's common but still seems to trip up a lot of gymnasts and coaches when it comes to learning it and the technique. So that is the toe hand. We'll break it down, help you figure out if it's a good skill for your gymnast, and if they're ready for it. We're going to talk about the importance of developing multiple in-bar skills and share some drills and progressions. So coaches, gymnasts, you can come out of this episode feeling more confident doing this in your gym. So before I guess we get into do you want to show a video first?
I think we should show them a video first. Maybe show them the end result on a bar. She goes kip cast handstand, toe handstand, toe handstand, toe handstand.
All right, so we're looking at the final product, right, Rob?
Yeah. That was pretty good. So, yeah, that's the Mancino in-bar trio, just add water. So you'll see in the upcoming videos that we show you. We came up with this idea, and we had these blocks that we were using, and we kind of bungeed them together. And Mr. Rick and I were like kind of practicing and seeing if we could figure it out. And then we were going to chop up a block and put a block in between and all these things. And then I was like, well, I looked at the U mat and I said, why don't we just make a really big U mat, like a safety zone mat? And you'll see in the other videos of how this thing comes into play and how great it is even for like free hips and toe hands and just getting their toes on the bar later and learning to go from cast to the blocks to push-up shapes, or they're in a handstand and we want them to get to this planche before they can drop on. So I would like all of my athletes to do 2-foot drop. And that was the end result. Some kids pick up on it right away, really quickly, and they understand that I try to use a clock, like a dial, for them to be able to come on at 4 o'clock. I talk about the bar, even though it's cylindrical, it has a top, a side, and a bottom. And they don't obviously want to come on top. That would be a squat on. They don't want to come on the bottom because then too late. So we have that 4 o'clock angle where both toes go on the side of the bar. So if this was the bar in this way, their toes go right on the side of the bar, not under the bar and not on top of the. So we try that with these blocks we'll show you in the next video progression. But obviously people are very familiar with doing step-ins, and I don't have a problem with it. I used to say it was the like end-all, be-all, you gave up when it was the generic version. I won't use any
name brands.
But that's the blocks there. That's their Mancino, and that was the prototype. I think they're black in the catalog now, anybody that's interested. But they made it for us in red, white, and green, Italian style for Mr. Palumbo. Being Italian, it was Tommy from Mancino made them in red, white, and green. It's very funny. So anyway, we start here. We jump cast up to the blocks. Then we get our toes pointed down, and then we scoop the toes on. And most importantly, if you back it up just a smidge, when they come down to that center block comes in and out. But when they come down to that block, that's the down we want to have. And from there to get their toes on the bar, I want them scooped. That's it. In slow-mo, it's perfect. Where they can scoop their toes onto the bar, getting them on the side of the bar, versus being in that position, then jumping up and then come back down, because that's not the whole idea. Then the next progression that we do is we take out that red block, and we do this for a while, kind of going quickly to show you my steps, but this scoop on right there is really great. Kylie went from doing 1-footers to getting 2-footers. Then she grew about 5 inches over the summer. So now she's back to doing 1-foots, but training to do 2-foots with the longer bodies. I just had to redo that scoop position again for you. Back that up one more time, Miss Rebecca, if you can.
Yeah, just that part.
Yeah. And so again, it's this action here where they're round on the bar, coming through the bottom of the bar, and watch her feet go right on the side of the bar. 4 o'clock. There you go. It's perfect. And, that 2-foot drop creates more power and more swing, more circle than it does if you do a step in. People will argue with me. I mean, take Lily Smith, for example. She's over at Georgia and she does a step in, and she's got, I don't know, the most 10s as a freshman ever on bars. She does a step in. It depends how late you step in that second foot. Some kids try to split at the top of the bar, which is not what we want. We want a 90, so the one leg stays straight, and you split the one leg down. The second leg is the one that's going to create the power. There's just some controversy. You could get more power from splitting. You can get more power from 2 feet, whatever. I just happen to like the 2-foot. I think it looks better, and I feel that when they do split, it gives them a little bit of looseness in their body. And, it's hard to split and stay tight as if your legs were together. That's my argument. Just my preference. I used to say Used
Anytime
to
I
say they
have
gave up if they did the step in, but
right.
I'm now at the point where like, listen, I'm gonna just train 2-footers as a drill on the side, and just if they have to 1 foot for competition for now, they can, and if they get 2 foot, I mean, it worked out well for Quinn. Quinn's on the NGA international team. She went over to the UK, and she's really, really cranking out some skills.
Yeah. You hear that argument with a lot of things that, well, this person does it this, like for front entry vaults, for front handsprings and half-ons, we always teach arms down on the board. But if you look at most elite vaulters, their arms are up on the board. And you go, well, then why are we teaching arms down on the board? And so, what I say is that it's hard to look at elite level athletes, especially in gymnastics, and go, that is the exact right technique that I need to be teaching. And the reason why is because they have figured out how to make it work for their body and their amount of power. And they probably learned it technically correct at first, and then evolved it into what it is now to make it most appropriate for them. And so that's usually what I say. And I'll joke around with it too. I'm like, on the off chance that you're not quite as talented as Simone Biles, let's give you every benefit, every possible, good thing we can give you, good technique, good addition to power, every advantage we can give you to get this skill, just in case you don't run 20 miles an hour down the vault runway, or, all these factors. So yeah, you'll find people that break the mold and do have a more powerful step in, but that's probably the exception to the norm, not the norm. Right? Most people are going to, like you said, stay tighter with 2 feet. They're going to generate more power with 2 feet. You can do it with a step in, but it's just harder to do.
Yeah. And, we go with that like model of we want it to look this way. This is the technique we want to use, but that doesn't work for everybody, but it's still the basis for when you want to get your drop. I mean, we start out on lines on the floor and they drop to push-up shape and try to scoop their feet through, or some people will teach an arch snap in to get their feet. I don't. I teach it as a scoop because the timing of that arch is a little bit harder to do. The kids that can arch snap their feet in and it's consistent for them, that's great. But I find it's less consistent than scooping your toes on. You could be a little bit more off if you're scooping versus the arch. You just miss your feet completely, and that's no good. Maybe the arch snap does help if we're doing an in-bar circle, which would be, for those that don't know, would be a toe hand with no feet, and they go up to the handstand. And we do those. We do a lot of strap bar work. We do a lot of toe circle work in the strap bar. Obviously, the kids start with squat on. I do it called a stoop on. So they have they pike on, and they just do circles with straight legs spotted. And the kids all want to do it by themselves. And the only way really to do it by themselves at the lower level, and I'm talking level 4s, we're doing toe circles just to teach them. And they need to bend at the top to create the swing or the speed, and then straighten, and then bend, and then straighten. And they like to do, 10, 12, 13, 14 in a row. That's great. So then we want to go from there to teach them how to get off, when to get off. We'll do circle, circle, shoot to handstand in straps. But all along, they need to be learning this late drop. That's the hardest part, is the actual drop of the bar. It takes the kids quite some time to understand the pressure on the bar from their shoulders into the bar, pushing, and then getting their toes on and pressure on the bar and pressure with their feet and their hands and their shoulders all at the same time. That's the most difficult part. There's lots of drills I didn't take videos of to show you, but like a floor bar on the ground, scooping down a wedge, that's a good one, just to get their toes on a floor bar. If you have a good floor bar that Velcros, we have carpet bonded foam, so Velcros, everything sticks. If you have a regular carpet foam or a carpet floor, your floor bar is not going to stick, so you might have to weight down the ends or something with some sandbags. And so we spend a lot of time on that in-bar trio blocks. It's a system that works really well for us. I think if a lot of other people used it, it would work really well for them. I'm not trying to push it for Mancino. I just happen to be happy that we had someone design it for us, gave us a prototype, and it took off, and lots of people are using them, and it's in their catalog. There's lots of other ways to do it. People do it with just big P-bar blocks and make a channel, and they do the same thing. Yep. You could do it any way you want. But I think that the most important part is that if the kid has to step in, then the kid has to step in. I mean, essentially, when the little kids, especially level 4s, are starting, they'll go circle, circle, shoot, handstand, split, step in, toe circle. I always try to end with a toe circle. I know on the one I showed you, Quinn did 3 in a row. I make her do 1, 2, 3, and then finish with a toe circle, stand up, jump to the high bar, glide kip, a long hand kip. And just like to give you an example, all last year at last 2 years, level 7, Quinn did step in toe handstand on the low bar. And this past year at Nationals, she did step in toe handstand on the high bar, giant time flyway. And so now she's doing 2-footers, and we're working Maloney, so hopefully we're going to go Maloney pack, and she'll do from a 2-footer. It also helps with kids doing toe handstand directly into double tuck dismount for level 9s, and not for 10, but for level 9. It'll give you a 1/10 bonus. Actually, it might give you 1/10 bonus to NGA level 10 from toe hand right to double. We were looking at that before on our bonus charts.
Yeah, and I was going to write it down. I forgot.
Yeah,
That's you're saying it.
I know it's
level
definite
10
for level 9.
C to D is a 10.
Yeah, it's so C to D. So if they go toe handstand double pike, and that's a D, so that'll give them a 1/10 bonus. If they do toe handstand before the Maloney, so they go toe hand Maloney, that's another 10th also, and then they go Maloney pack, so now you're getting 4. So you're getting D to D, you're getting 2/10 for the connection and 1 for each of your Ds plus the 1 before. So that's 5, actually. College is doing it the same way. So it's the exact same rules that we follow for the NGAs. They do an NCAAs. And one of my athletes that did super well on bars this year, Sarah, I'll know who she is. She made a really big statement on her bars this year, and she just needed to add a toe hand in front of her Maloney to make sure she got the bonus for college. And that's really great too. If they start doing the toe hand before, it's almost like a good prep before they're going to do the Maloney. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves with the Maloney. But back to the toe hand, I think it's important. It's like the gateway skill to 5, 6, 7 other skills out of it. Toe fulls, Maloney half, Ray, Church, Nabieva. I probably named 6, and that's all comes from a good, strong toe hand. So doing a toe hand before any of your releases is always a good thing to do. It gives them a little bit of a prep. So that's a great thing too.
Yeah, I think this would be a good time to talk about how we choose and why do we prefer maybe some toe hands for this.
Yeah.
Because, all those skills that you named, you can technically do from a clear hip.
Sure.
Or a stalder. Well,
sure.
Not all of them from a stalder.
Not all from a stalder, but sure.
And so why do we choose that
different
compared
name
to the others?
Sure. Yeah. Free hip wise for me, if I didn't ever have to teach another free hip in my life, I'd be happy, because for me and for girls, it's the hardest skill in the book to do a really great free hip, clear hip, whatever you want to call it. In women's gymnastics, it's a C. In boys gymnastics, it's a B, but they're just stronger. They're stronger in their lats and stronger in their shoulders to actually, do the open position to the top, which is great, but it's my fallback skill, because little girls especially can go kip cast, free hip, kip cast, squat on, and go and get their minimum required height. It's a little harder to do a toe circle, toe off at horizontal. I think it's important you go right
especially
to
without
handstand.
a bunch of deduction.
Yeah,
bending the arms and changing body shape and stuff.
The biggest thing is the kids try to shift too early, and that's where the bent elbows come from. They have to wait until they get to the top. You can see my hand. Wait until they get to the top before they shift, because if they shift at the bottom, you're just going to get bent elbows, and there's no pressure on the bar. So that's where it becomes an issue. And same with the free hip. So we use those blocks the same way. We just, jump, cast off, straddle up onto the block. That one we jump and then we drop, free hip back around to the block. And so that works really well too. That's why it's called the in-bar trio.
Too.
Did I do a free hip? I think I...
No, maybe you didn't.
I don't think I did, but
Yeah, the way I like to explain the difference. So in a clear hip, I think it's easier to teach an okay clear hip, like what you said, right?
Yeah.
And dropping into a clear hip is much easier, I think, than dropping into a toe hand. But on the way out is where it gets easier for the toe hand, right? So being able to use their entire body to extend.
Yeah, you get to use your feet to push off the bar to get to handstand, whereas in
push
clear
off
hip,
the bar, you have
to
use your hips
you
to
have
extend.
to hold this egg shape on a clear hip. The clear hip has to look like this, goes up to there, down to the bottom, and then up to handstand. Where the toe handstand, if they get up to this, their bottom is up here, feet are on the bar, and then they can just open from there. We do it like this too, like this is your hands and this is your feet.
Right.
And they come around the circle, and you want to finish the circle. So a lot of kids on a toe hand or a clear hip try to go this way. They don't finish the circle, but finish the circle, and then you shoot to handstand. It's like, again, this is your hands, this is your feet up there. So it's important that they finish the circle before they shoot. no matter who they are, they're going to go early because it's just natural. Now, I teach head in at the bottom, and what do they need to see? I tell them they need to stare at their knees the entire time, and then they can open up, and then they can see their hands at the top of the bar.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's similar to the Yurchenko, right? And it's certainly easier to do a half on than it is to do a Yurchenko, right? But to flip out of a Yurchenko versus
Sure.
flip out
Yeah.
of a half on, the end result is much, much easier out of a Yurchenko if you can teach the hard thing at the beginning, which is the round off back handspring, teach the hard thing on the toe hand, which is that drop and get your feet on at the right time. If you can teach that hard thing, man, the ending is just so much easier. And being able to blind full out of it or being able to release and catch again out of it is going to be so much easier if you can teach that.
And the end result coming out of the toe hand's the easy part. I mean, you can take,
exactly.
5-year-olds and go circle, circle, shoot handstand, and it's easy. But it's how did they did it? So they did 2 circles and they shot on the third. So that's easy because you created speed, and you don't get to create circle, circle, shoot. You get to cast handstand, drop, shoot, right? So it's got to be right away. You're not going to get a circle before it. But the end result is the easy part. The toe hand, I mean, these little 5-year-olds can absolutely do it. They think it's so fun and so, I think it's so cute. And then later on, it becomes a little bit less. I think it's less scary to the athlete to be able to do it from a toe hand because their toes are on the bar. Whereas when they're the free hip, they're in this free space. They're, clear hip, whatever y'all want to call it.
Yep.
So I think it's important. I spend a lot of time on the circles. I probably should spend a little less time on the circles and more time on the release move. But, in good time, I wanted to have their good basics.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have at least 2 circling elements that you can do well. It's wonderful if you can do 3, right? But if you can do at least 2, because like what we were talking about before we pressed record here, you can get a 10th bonus if you just go clear hand, toe hand.
Toe hand, clear hand, toe hand.
By the time they're ready for a toe hand and can compete those things, they probably already had a clear hip hand because you taught that to them first.
Yeah.
And so just adding a toe hand afterward, that's not a big deal at all. And they can get a 10th bonus in level 9 for that. Why not?
Yeah, clear hip handstand, toe handstand, Maloney. I mean, you're picking up a bunch of bonus there. And let's take a look at the other video. I'll show you the next progression that we do after the circle. We do the drop, we get good at the drop, and then I spot the actual circle with straight legs. I think that's a video on there that we have.
Is it this?
I think it's this one. Kylie looking all happy.
It's like, what do you want me to do?
So we go cast, blocks. And so now they see that in the middle there's no block in the middle anymore. So we took that part away.
Right.
So back that up a little bit again. So now we took out the down drop scoop on, and we went from jump, cast, push up shape, because that's going to be your plunge drop from your handstand. So there's your plunge drop. Butt's a little bit high, and there's your drop and the circle and a drop and a circle. And then the next is we'll take that drop into the circle from the top, and we'll do toe handstand, straddle, drop back onto the block, and shoot handstand. We'll do 3 in a row. I think that's what I'm talking about right now. And then we'll do 3 in a row. Yep. This will be the next one. I think it's all one video. Yep.
Your hand
straddle back. Yeah, we straddle back down to the blocks.
It's like a third base coach over here.
Yeah. Kylie was one of our first when she was little. She just got real tall, but she's got it nicely done. Back down, push up shape, scoop in, shoot hand, a little bit of shapes there at the top. That one was pretty good.
Yeah. She does pretty good keeping her shoulders.
Yeah. And she keeps, And the comments are just about what time I want him to get off the bar, when I want to get him off the bar, and get up there to that 12 o'clock, And so a lot of times the little ones too, I didn't take a video of it. I'll circle them around up to this side on the bar so that they're parallel, tilt them a little bit, and just have them press up to handstand off the bar. And this is just another athlete. This is Quinn. She's on your international team. You can show that too.
Yeah, I think she's doing the same thing, right?
Yep. Just showing you another athlete. You can another athlete you can see. I think I have a third one in there too I put up.
Yeah, you did.
You're not showing it anymore, just in case you're wondering there, Rebecca.
No, I'm not. Am I really? I stopped sharing it?
Yeah.
You did.
I was watching it. I was like, good.
Oh, this is pretty nice.
Yeah, we're not commenting on it because we can't see it.
You mind if you share this with the rest of us?
I mean, I guess if you really want to watch it.
I mean, it is the podcast.
That's hilarious.
There we go.
Right.
So Quinn does the same thing. So she goes jump, cast, drop, and I try to get it to go quickly. And then, come and stay on the bar as long as they can. Come back. That's another one. Jump, hit, drop, scoop. she's got a little bit of a bounce there, and then try to keeping their feet on the bar, even on the backswing. That's another cool thing. I like to do that, the strap bar a little bit too. This bar pops right out of there. We can make it a strap bar, but I have another little strap bar to the right. So the next thing is that block, that middle block just pops in and out. You'll see on the bottom there's Velcro. I don't even have it Velcroed in, but you can Velcro it in, and then we just scoop it out of there, and then she goes right to the toe hand from there. Oops. And in the video, I go, look, they're not all good. We get a bad one once in a while, right? Every turn's not meant to be perfect. And so then we kick out the block, and I think I come over and I spot. So she goes from the top and right on. So she does the circle around by herself. It's pretty good. I think I have her do it again. She really took to this one, and it was really, this is proof positive that if you keep training this drill, even though she competed 2 years, level 7 and level 8 with a step in, and they were good. I mean, she was getting 9/8 on bars with level 7 and level 8. She's doing a great job with step-ins. So the judges don't seem to have a problem. Yeah, I really like the setup. Doesn't do anything for us. We were going to try to patent the whole system, and we just gave the design to Mancino, let them run with it. So
here's another one.
Yeah, this is Brooke. She competed at nationals at level 8. Nope, that's Quinn. I think these are just.
Yeah. Oh, it's still Quinn.
This is good too because you'll see that.
Spotting?
Yeah, Quinn's a little bit newer to this 2-foot drop, so she's a little bit late, but her shapes are solid. She's just a little bit late. That one was really nice. There's a good drop, a nice position, and this one's a little bit late too. But that's we started laughing.
My favorite part is that you just leave her there.
Yeah, she can figure it out.
She just melts. She's tough. She can handle it.
Yeah. Try to have them make sure that they leave whatever bar they're working on and they go to 3 other bars before they go to the chalk station. That's just me. It doesn't always work. They somehow find that chalk box and they all stand around it anyway.
Right.
Okay, so it sounds like you both start these drills really early. So if coaches are uncomfortable and they're just not really sure of themselves teaching a toe hand, when would you recommend that they start doing this and how they should incorporate it?
That's why I was saying level 3s and 4s. They love getting in the strap bar. It's good for them to learn to get in a strap bar. We have a little mini strap bar that's perfect for this. And then I have a full-size strap bar that I usually leave in our trench bar, which also pops in and out for a regular bar. The level 3s and 4s, they love, they call them roundy rounds or whatever you want to call them. And they love to do them.
Monkey giants.
And they're just fun. And the kids think it's really cool. Gets them used to straps, gets them used to circles at a young age so that later on. And I guess it's a little off topic, but I would say is make sure you're doing cast handstands with your level 3s. And you'll see they're the hardest ones to spot because they don't want to lean over the bar to come back to the bar. But there are some coaches that feel that kids don't have a kip and they shouldn't do cast handstands. And I'm like, well, they do a handstand on vault, they do a handstand on beam, they do a handstand on floor, they train back handsprings, they do handstand bounders and fly springs and all these things on trampolines that do a handstand on a bar.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's, for me, just kind of comparing it back to Yurchenko. It's a highly technical skill that's going to take a little bit of time to develop. And so I start my level 3s and 4s with cartwheels on a line to a step in, maybe onto a springboard, but usually starting on a line to a step in, right? And then we progress it on in level 4. They might be doing cartwheels onto a board, just on a line though, or on a floor beam to the board. And so, about level 4 or so, we start doing just soul circles. And they think it's the coolest thing in the world when they can get one on the bar by themselves too, right?
Oh yeah, they love that. Mr. Watch, and they zig, 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 2 or 3, or just that first one that they make over by themselves.
For sure. And they think they've just done like the hardest level 10 skill that's ever been created.
And they can do those all day long without ripping up their hands, right? Because you're doing them in strap bars too.
Yeah. So they love that. And so, why not encourage it? You're already going to be working back hip circles to work the clear hips or free hips. So why not work some soul circles as well? So we do the soul circles, and then, every once in a while, it's like, all right, cool. Everybody's got their soul circles. So let's pop up in handstand now. And I'll spot a few through handstand, and, from the handstand, help them lower down. Okay, here comes another one, right? And just, going around, and it's a lot of fun for them.
Yeah. One of the drills that we use is not such a high block on the strap bar. It's a lower block, and the bar is here. So they're on the bar, and they have to scoop onto the bar. So that gives them a little bit understanding of that we're trying to get on later, not on top of the bar. And then I'll have them, circle out, come back, and then come back on. See if they can do
Yep.
that. And if that's a challenge for them, that's really fun. Does everybody understand that? I'm not sure if I explained that
Yeah, so,
correctly,
like,
but
pop off in the back and then try
pop
and
off in
snap
the
back
back
on
and try
before
to
coming
step back
down.
on, and then and stay on and come back on and pop off and come back. See if we do that 3 times in a row. I like to do things in threes. I know a lot of coaches like to do things in fives, but I start with 3. And if somebody can do 5 toe hands in a row, I mean, that's pretty good.
Right, yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of amazing.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, I just keep going back to Quinn. I mean, for 2 years, she's been doing step in toe hand, and they were great. And she could do 3 in a row, and they were fantastic. But I remember the day where she couldn't do 1, or we'd be at a meet,
Mhm.
and like I didn't know if I was going to get a toe hand or if I was going to get a Tkachev looking drill. And
Right,
so
yep,
and then she finally clicked, and so I don't think it took her more than this summer to get this 2-foot drop, and now she owns it. I mean, you saw she did 3 in a row with just a really light spot. So next is for her is to, on her own, kip cast handstand, toe hand, toe hand, toe hand, toe circle, jump to the high bar.
So I know you said that there's some specific areas that the gymnast can struggle with, and that's why that drill that you just showed us is so
Yeah.
helpful. So
Yes.
if coaches are struggling with teaching toe hands,
Yes.
what are some specific corrections, some focus areas that you're like, this might be it, and this is how you can fix that?
Well, so I mean, I think if you teach it from a 2-foot drop from the beginning, it's helpful. And like the little block station, if you don't have that situation, you can do any block you want. A lot of coaches in their lives have had a block the right distance away where the gymnast can come down and free hip and come back onto a block that's lower than the bar. We've been doing that for years. We've all been doing it.
mhm,
This is just a new thing with these higher blocks. People talk about the straddle because some of the problem with the free hip is they'll straddle here at the back or the bottom of a free hip circle when I
in order
really
to get
want them
back
to
to the
go
blocks again.
around to the block and then
Mm,
straddle to put their feet on top of the blocks. And the biggest problem is they start straddling here and they try to come over, and that doesn't work.
Yep, yep,
If you're doing it
gotcha.
with your feet together, you'll have less of the problem of kids trying to straddle in a free hip. I mean, there's some pluses and minuses to those drills, but I think if coaches are struggling with it, then at least teach them the step in so they get 1 foot that drops in late. So if you can get
yeah,
1 foot that drops in late, which is easier than 2 feet, then at least they understand where does that second foot come out. Okay, now we want to do 2 feet dropping in at the same time as that second foot that drops in. And I
yeah.
teach it as a 1-2, so like then after the 2 steps in, that's where our power comes from. That
Yeah,
would
it's
be
all
the
about
thing.
that drop. If you're having trouble with this, it's about where they're getting their feet on. An easy way to know if they're getting their feet on too early is they start bouncing on the bar. So they'll snap on and you'll see the bar bounce as they try and go
Yeah.
around
We
and
want
they
the
get
bar to bounce at
thrown
the
way
top.
off. Yeah, we just want
When
one
we come
bounce
off, we want it to
and so
bounce
it's
at the
down up.
top, up, down, up.
Yep.
So some of the things, if you're struggling with, get on a line, on the floor. Just have them, I have them straddle up handstand and then just drop to a push-up shape. And then to see if they can scoot their feet through. And that's a really fun thing for the kids to do, to see if they can do that. Pushbacks are really good. Like what else would you call them? Like you sit on a floor in a pike and you lift your body up and you scoot your body back. And then you lift
Oh,
your,
gotcha. Right.
like,
Mm,
I don't know what do you call
We used to
them.
call them we used to call them ab walks
Ab
because you had to
walks,
use your
butt
abs to
walks, or,
walk backwards.
something. Yeah. Butt slides, whatever you want to call them. I don't know. Everybody's got a different name for it, but those are really good because it teaches them the compression at the bottom, and that's really good too. Is just hanging on the bar with their toes underneath the bar. That's good too, to learn how to push from your hands and push from your toes at the same time. And that's
Mhm.
that the biggest problem I think with kids that get good at the drop don't understand that they need to keep pressure on the bar with their hands, because they go to release the little bit of pressure on their hands on the bar, and so they go to get their feet and their feet never get on. I just can't get my feet on. I can't get my feet on. Either they're
Right.
too late or there's no pressure on the bar. You've got to keep pressure on the bar with your hands, pushing from your shoulders in order to get your feet on the bar, then pressure with your feet. There's both have to happen together, or you won't get the circle.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
for sure.
I'm just trying to think about something else that we would normally do.
And that's pretty it's just the timing at the end then after that, right? So if they're getting their feet on at the right time, they're keeping pressure on the bar, then
Yeah.
it's just figuring out the timing at the top.
Yeah. The timing at the top of the drop. So another way is that you can have just 2 little trapezoid blocks and put the bar on the bottom of like a floor bar, and just have them be on the trapezoid blocks and just try to scoop their feet under. That's a good one too. Like I said, with a wedge too, because now their feet are coming in. There's some really great drills out there, and you can, everybody and their brother's got a drill, and everybody and their sister's got a drill too. And you just go look on Instagram. But there's some ones where you put an 8-inch mat or a wedge mat up on the wall, and they get their feet on a slider, and then they slide down the mat, scoop their feet onto the bar. That's a good one. A little bit harder to set up. So if you don't have the setup in your gym, that's really hard to set up. Way more of a technical drill than it is for like, just like our beginner programs. That's a pretty highly advanced drill, so to speak. But then we take that over to our bounce bar. We have a tumble track bounce bar, and then we also have the tumble track T-trainer that attaches to that new bar thing. We have that too. So they can do bounce bar to handstand, but then we do bounce bar to handstand let go for long for Maloney out of the toe hand. So that's the next drill we do after that, because that's all part of the whole drop too. But we're really spending the time on the drop, in any drill we can come up with that helps them to pass through push-up shape. Some people call it a pivot. Some people call it a planche.
I come from the men's sides of things, so it's a planche.
It's a planche. So and one of my best friends who did, men's gymnastics way back when in Temple, and he'll tell you that it's pivot, it's not planche. I'm like, okay, whatever. We argue about it all the time.
So what if a coach has an athlete that just cannot get a toe hand? What do you guys usually evolve to after that?
I'm usually going back to the clear hip then for them,
Clear hip?
right? Clear hip is pretty basic.
I think there's no one that cannot do a toe hand. I think
except for the girls that are just too tight to get their legs straight on the bar.
Well,
right?
That's what I was wondering about flexibility wise.
Yeah, so flexibility wise, like, we always say, like, you have to be able to, we go on a low beam and we wrap our hands under the bottom of the beam and we stand up straight. Then we do those, and then we do squat down and we lean back to stretch our ankles too. It's a really good Achilles stretch and a arch stretch and all that. I have a girl that you're talking about flexibility wise, and she jumps on the bar and then she straddles her legs in a tuck to even get her legs on the bar, or toes on the bar, I should say. And I laugh and I say, you can't do that. Forget that skill right now.
Yeah. I've got some kids. As of right now, I will never teach them a toe hand because their hamstrings are just so incredibly tight. And that probably sounds weird coming from a program of mine that I know how to stretch. I know how to educate my kids on how to stretch. Some of them do it though, some of them don't, right? So it's not like a necessarily, so everyone can get flexible enough to do this skill. Unlike maybe some straddling type skills, there are some kind of bony abnormalities that will prevent some people from being able to straddle to 180 degrees. But for hamstring, there's almost no one should have such tight hamstrings that they can't do a toe hand as far as gymnastics goes. But you just have to work the flexibility. But if it's not there yet, then they can still kind of play around with maybe some toe circles and things that might give them a little extra stretch too.
Get some extra stretch, sure, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just working clear hips with them, and then I might even mess around with Weilers eventually if they have some good timing on that. And there's a few little drills that we could talk about on a later podcast for Weilers.
Yeah, I did the same with Quinn. Originally started playing with Weilers, and then I turned it into an endo, and she now has an endo. I probably could have showed that too as another circle. I mean, those just forward stalter. So speaking of the stalter and the drop for the toe hand and the drop for the stalter are exactly the same. And to be honest with you, the drop for the clear hip to me is exactly the same too. They still want to be in the round shape. The drop is the drop, whether you put your feet on or whether you put your feet under and you do a no footer or you do a stalter. So one of the drills I like to do for stalter is in strap bar giants is they go giant, and they go late straddle on toe circle. So that's for stalter. So it's still the late on, but they're putting their feet on the bar in a straddle. And it's coming from a giant, which means that they're dropping, because the biggest problem I feel is the kids that try to do these toe-ons for toe shoots is they cast and then they pike to get on. And then that's just, you're too far under the bar and your feet fly off the bar. That's the biggest mistake is kids think you can pike onto the bar, which, that's a catch-22 because I try to teach a stoop on, a pike on instead of a squat on, because later on I'm going to want them to do a late toe circle drop. So I feel like if I can get them to get their legs on the bar straight from the beginning when they're little, later on when we go to do the drop, they understand keeping their legs together instead of stepping.
Nice.
Oh, all right. So before we finish and wrap up, let's do some rapid fire Q&A. First question. When should a gymnast start learning a toe hand?
Dr. Ian?
Who wants to go?
Yeah, level 4 at least, right? So they're doing toe circles and eventually learning how to pop off to toe hand. Yep. level 3, level 4, somewhere around
3,
there.
4.
All right. So what is a common mistake coaches should watch for?
Coming on too early, bent legs when they come on, head out at the bottom of the circle.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say head out if you didn't think of it. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely the timing on and then that head position. If it's out, it drags them off the bar and messes up their timing.
And then last question, how can I make sure if I'm coaching this that the drills are safe for my athlete?
Set the strap bar down low so that a way if they do the thing where they pop their feet off while they're in the straps, that their feet will still touch while they're in this skin the cat
Skin
position
the cat position, yep.
and not get hurt that way.
Yeah,
that's probably the most common injury that I see.
Yeah,
with these.
that's where we do them on a bar where they can touch the ground if they were to come through. Yep. And then the other is, if you notice in all the drills that we showed you that I was having my athletes perform, I'm spotting, I have their wrist, so that if they come off early, I have their wrist and I can put them down. So go back, look through the podcast again, look at those videos and see that where my hand is underneath the bar. The bar's here and I'm under the bar, so I'm not over the bar, so my hand's not getting dragged over. So under the bar, grabbing the wrist and staying with them. They can go up to the handstand or off the bar if they come off the bar.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was actually going to ask you about spotting that, because I know we've discussed in other episodes that spotting is a real issue for coaches when it comes to certain skills like that. They need that confidence to know how to do it. So I'm glad you brought that back up.
Yeah, it's a really simple skill to spot. It's not too terrible. Just lower back and wrist. And if they mess up, you just can lower them down to the ground. So it's pretty easy.
All right. So does anyone have any final takeaways with the toe hand?
Well, I'm just going to say it. Don't give up. Stick with a 2-footer.
Yeah. No step in.
Yeah, I think
But on the
explore it
side, it's
because-
okay if you have to step in. No. I'm
no.
not judging. I
Not
don't
Rob,
judge.
not
Only God judges. I don't judge.
Yeah, so with the toe hand, one, don't worry if it takes a little bit to learn. Remember, a clear up hand took you 2 or 3 years to teach as well. If you think about when they started from back hip circles all the way up to a clear up hand, it took them 2 or 3 years to learn that skill, maybe more. And so if they don't learn a toe hand in 2 months in the summer, don't get discouraged. Times it takes a little while to learn a skill, and with in-bar skills especially, it just takes some time to learn the timing of it, and that's the biggest issue.
Yeah, and I'll leave you, my final word, I'll leave you with this is, you got to do them every day. You can't skip circles. You've got to do them some kind of drill, even if it's one they can do on their own. If you don't, it's not going to get there. It'll take way longer than you want.
All right, everyone. So I hope this podcast helped with building your confidence in trying to do more toe hands in your gym. If you have any questions, please reach out. We'd love to help anyone with a specific issue that they're having, but hopefully what Rob and Ian has given you will help you progress with your athletes in the gym. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share it with anyone who can benefit from the conversation. Thank you for joining us here at the NGA podcast. And until next time, stay happy, healthy, and high performing.